Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking about episode 2 of season 3 of The Walking Dead called Sick. Now, this is of course a reference to a line of dialogue from the episode, but I can't help but wonder if I was the only one who was reminded of Richard Cheese and Lounge Against the Machine's cover of Disturbed's Down with the Sickness, which was used at the over the end credits to the film Dawn of the Dead. Well, I got a friend who is an enormous fan of that song. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I've gone over to his house and he's been playing Richard Cheese's version of Down with the Sickness. It's just weirdly burned into my mind that way. But hey, it is a pretty good song, and Richard Cheese and his group are actually quite funny and quite good performers. Give them a chance. If go and check them out sometime if you've never heard of them. But anyway, let's move on to talking about this episode. Overall, yeah, this is really a good episode. It makes me feel like The Walking Dead is back after. Well, okay. I guess at this point, there's really no point in going over everybody's complaints about season 2 yet again. Okay, this has been discussed ad nauseum, but the show is tight. There's a lot going on, and what's happening is interesting. And really, I don't think I can ask too much more than that. This is really. Sundays have turned out to be a really great night of television. What with this and Dexter? Okay, but anyway. Now, again, I have read almost all of the Walking Dead comics. I'm not 100% up on some of the more recent events, but I have read the entire storyline from the prison. As I said last time around, it's pretty much my favorite Walking Dead storyline. So what we get here is a massively condensed version of what happened with Rick's interplay with the prisoners, and for the most part, we're dealing with original characters here. Now, from checking online, of course, the unfortunate fellow to die first. He's the only one who's, as near as I could tell, was explicitly named in this episode. Was Big Tiny. The fellow with the baseball bat was Andrew. The leader of the inmates was Thomas. The rather stoic fellow is Oscar. And the guy with the stupid choice in facial hair is Axel. Now, of course, Big Tiny, Andrew, and Thomas do not survive this episode. But the whole thing with Rick killing Thomas, I was surprised that happened so quickly. Again, I really don't want to spoil anything for the fans, who might not have checked out the comics yet. I don't think it's going to be too much of a spoiler if I tell you that Rick kind of wondering if he's going to have to deal with killing an inmate was an issue there. How that went down was very different. But I do like that in this episode, as I said, it's very condensed. Rick does not dick around with this decision. As soon as he realizes that there is absolutely no way that he and Thomas are going to be able to coexist, he kills him. That first thing where Thomas almost took his head off with the weapon, okay, that Rick you could briefly see might have been willing to chalk that up to an accident. But when Thomas throws that walker at him, he knows Thomas is not going to be satisfied until he's in charge of the prison, and that means he has to go. And, Rick just kind of BS's him long enough for get Thomas to lower his guard for a second, and then that's it for Thomas. That's it. And the way that he took out Big Tiny without even blinking, of course. I mean, and the look that he gives Rick. I mean, it's clear that Thomas wasn't in jail for unpaid parking tickets. That I think we could bet on for sure. Now, I do think Rick might have been a little excessive when it came to Andrew. Now, near as I can tell, Andrew just kind of freaked out over having seen Rick kill Thomas. Now, maybe I missed something, but as far as he knows, Rick just went psycho. He does not know that Thomas tried to kill Rick. I mean, again, I could have missed something. That was a very intense, very quick scene. But Yeah, it's a little hard to blame him for freaking out there. And of course, then he has to go and be the biggest moron in the entire world and go running off into the dark to a place where they know just minutes ago there were loads of zombies. And even worse, Rick goes and chases after him. Dude, just lock the door. Come back in a couple hours. If the zombies haven't gotten him, I guess the whole thing then was that Rick just didn't want to go hunting around in the dark for a guy who might potentially want to kill him, but really, all the guy had was a bat, and he didn't even have that with him. Is this guy really going to be that much more dangerous than the walkers? I don't know. Andrew was just stupid. Honestly, I think that more than anything was really why Rick might have left him out there to be walker bait. If Andrew's going to panic and do stupid things like that, then really the group is better off without him. Although if that's what Rick was thinking, then man oh man, he's more of a hard ass than I think even I give him credit for. But I do like that Lori points out that Rick is doing these things. He's making these incredibly hard decisions, making these life or death decisions. He's doing it without malice. Rick doesn't want to hurt these guys. He doesn't want to kill them. But if they give him the impression that they're a threat to the group, then he's going to do it without hesitation. And that does very much parallel Rick's character development in the comics. Again, I don't think I'm spoiling too much by saying at some point Rick, in the comic storylines, Rick has to be incredibly ruthless. And there is more that I could say on that, but again, I don't want to spoil stuff for people who have not checked out the comics yet, which I do heartily recommend. Okay, now again, forgive me this one little tiny spoiler from the comics, but in the comics they did actually grab the riot gear and use it. Now, to be completely fair, they didn't take it off zombies, they found it in storage. I could kind of understand a little bit more about them not wanting to use, armor that had been on zombies, especially once, like we saw last episode, the zombies are still kind of dripping out of these things. But still, it really bothers me that they don't seem to be taking full advantage of everything that's going on here. And I may have addressed this last time around, but these guys seem to be really dumb in the amount of bare arms they're exposing when they're going into fights with walkers. I mean, come on, guys. I know the jeans didn't do Kurt Herschel too much good last episode, but really, I'm sure you could find a long sleeve shirt somewhere. I know you're in Georgia, but getting a little sweaty versus getting bitten by a zombie, it's really not a very hard choice. I mean, for God's sake, come on, guys. You got to be able to go poke around in some of those houses. You got to be able to find some leather jackets somewhere. Okay, but once again, I'm probably overthinking this way too much. All right, now again, one other thing that I want to talk about that I mentioned briefly last time around was Beth. Okay, first of all, and I don't mean this in any way to insult the actress playing her. I quite like the girl that plays Beth, but I think might be the first episode or the first time where I noticed that Beth has some really unusual eyebrows. Again, I'm not trying to insult the actress or anything like that. I'm just saying her eyebrows look to me somewhat unusual, and that's all I have to say about that. But anyway, Beth here is, as I said last time, really becoming more of her own character. She feels like somebody who has a personality. I mean, thank God. Now, of course, her main thing in here is her contrast with Maggie. Maggie, from the onset, seems to accept that Herschel is probably doomed. Meanwhile, Beth goes out to screw around with Herschel's pants. And this is really just a way to take her mind off the situation. And, of course, Beth is the one who believes that her dad is going to be fine. And I do like this contrast. It really does sort of show how these two people from the same place, the same background, are dealing in very different ways with the world around them. Maggie has kind of gone in Rick's direction. She's joined the frontline fighters. She's taken a very pessimistic view of how things are. Meanwhile, Beth has kind of gone in the complete opposite direction. I think you could make a case reasonably for her being the most optimistic person in the group. Now, admittedly, optimism may not exactly be the best word given what we're seeing here. Beth was, screwing around with Herschel's pants, as I said, really just to give her something to focus on rather than her father, the horrible situation with her father. But remember, it was Beth last episode who started singing the song, so in a way, she's really kind of the cheeriness, I guess. Again, that's not maybe the best way to put it, but I guess that she's really the only person who does seem to have some genuine some genuine some genuine some genuine happiness still in her heart, as cornball as that might seem. And there to be that, and there doesn't really seem to be a whole lot of optimism or cheeriness going around. This isn't that type of show. But I do think that even in stories like this, these very serious, very dark, very grim ones, those characters like that do serve an important purpose. For one, it reminds us that no matter how bad things are, there are some people who are simply going to believe that things can get better, that there is still reason for hope. And now, granted, that might seem an extraordinarily foolish thing to hold on to in a world in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. But one, what's wrong with going down that direction to get yourself through the day? Again, in a situation like that, it really is all about what gets you through the day. So thinking that maybe things could be better, if that's what gets Beth through the day, then really is it so terrible? And then there's also the idea, as someone so aptly put it, of mistaking cynicism for wisdom. Now, granted, the world has gone to crap. There is not the reasons to think that the future could be better are in pretty darn short supply. But it's as a wise man once said, he who has life has hope. And as long as the group is still alive, the idea that the world could ever go back to being the way it was is a ridiculous dream. But the idea that they might be able to carve out some sort of life for themselves in this world, it's unlikely, but is it impossible? Maybe. But if everyone really believes that there is no hope, that there is no possibility of being better, of anything being better, then what's the point for them to go on? Why don't they just turn their guns on themselves and end their suffering? I don't really have a good answer for that. Apart from the fact that if they did that, we wouldn't have a show anymore now, would we? So, I'll leave you guys with that to ponder. Now, of course, I don't think it would be quite a review of Walking Dead if we didn't mention what's going on with Lori. The question of whether or not she was being smart with giving Herschel CPR. Well, we saw what happened in the webisodes if you try and give somebody who's been bitten by a zombie CPR. Didn't end so well for Judy, I believe her name was. On the other hand, Herschel was not for sure a zombie, but still. On the other hand, Lori doing that might have prevented Herschel from dying and thus actually turning into a zombie. But I'm still convinced that people are going to take I feel that decision by Lori will probably be quite polarizing among the fans. Of course, Lori also has a really nice scene with Rick where Rick, he gives Lori a compliment. It's a little hard to read exactly where their relationship is at this point. I mean, Lori even says that she considers herself to be a horrible wife. I'm just going to leave that one alone. I don't feel like quite wading into that particular minefield. So, but I don't think I'd be doing my duty as a Walking Dead fan if I didn't find a reason to complain about Lori at least once per episode. No, I'm kidding. But no, the idea of her getting on Carl's case for going off to the infirmary all by himself, this makes absolutely no sense. Last episode, the first episode, one of the first things, basically the first thing we see Carl do is go off by himself and kill a walker. I mean, I even ranted a little bit about how stupid this was in my last review. I still think it was extraordinarily stupid. But there's no way that the rest of the group didn't know that Carl did that. So why in the world is Lori raising objections about Carl going off and killing walkers on his own now? Oh boy. Well, at the end of it all, we're left with Oscar and Axel as the only two prisoners still left alive. Now, I think these guys are two characters to very much keep an eye on. Axel said that he was in jail for drugs, and honestly, I didn't catch exactly what he said Oscar did, but he was quite insistent that they both weren't violent guys. So we'll see if we'll see how true that holds. But I do actually like that. I do actually, oddly enough, like Axel for some reason. I can't even really put my finger on it. I guess maybe it's just that really stupid facial hair that he has going on that sort of makes him look a little bit like a cross between Green Arrow and Colonel Sanders. You know, if they had a little bit of a meth problem. But anyway, as I said, it's something I think we'll enjoy. I think it's something that I'll enjoy keeping an eye on in future episodes. And with that, folks, I think it's time to wrap this up. Overall, this is a good episode. The writing, the pacing, the acting, it all continues to be extremely solid this time around. While there are a few things that... Oh, wait. There was one more thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, the scene at the fence where they go out there to kill the walkers. Okay, Carol's desire to get a female cadaver to practice on makes total sense. And I like the way they kill the walker through the fence. That's cool. Why not just kill the other walkers by the fence and then get the body? I mean, really, why have Glenn lead them off? Just, grab another rebar and jab them through the eye. Jab them through it. It'll take you 5 minutes. Not even that. I don't know. That just sort of annoyed me. But anyway, folks, overall, as I said, this season is off to a really great start. Massive improvement over last season. Really good episode this time around. So as always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. And until next time, take care and have a good one.